this part of the video is going to show you how to take a trailer jack and turn it into pretty much an adjustable table leg. Hey there, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over part 2 of building my work table. I ended up getting some outrigger jacks, which are just trailer jacks that I got from Harbor Freight. I have one of them kind of mocked up down here. What I'm going to use these for is, if you check out the last video, part 1 of the work table build, you can see that I got the casters on and they weren't the highest quality casters. They roll really well, but they have a little bit of slop in them whenever they're locked. So I wanted the table to be stable, and in different parts of my shop here, the concrete isn't the most level. So another thing that I was running into, I was having issues where it was kind of tipping a little bit. So I have the same problem with my toolbox too, my weld cart. When you just have something this rigid, if the floor is off a little bit, it could wobble. So with these trailer jacks at all 4 corners, what I could do is roll the table into position if I'm working on a car at the other end of the garage or something. And then once I lock the wheels down, I could actually jack the table up off the casters and it'll be rock solid. I ran into a couple issues whenever I was trying to actually figure out how I was going to do this. The trailer jack has a lot of play in it, so whenever I was actually jacking the table up, it would still wobble, which I just figured out what I needed to do to be able to make it as solid as I can. So since there's a tube and there's 2 tubes and a nut and a lead screw inside, and those 2 tubes just kind of slide inside each other, and the issue I was having, the fit isn't very precise in those tubes. So what I ended up doing was I'm going to drill 2 holes that are perpendicular to each other inside the outer tube, and I'm going to weld a nut on there. And once I put the leveling feet down on the ground, I'll be able to tighten up that nut, well, the bolt actually, be able to tighten up the bolt, and it'll lock that inside tube into the outer tube, and it'll be completely rock solid. There's a couple things that you have to do to the jack first. I'll go over those. In my case, since I am going to have these as adjustable table legs, the handle you can see here that comes with it, it's just a standard handle that you'd see on your average trailer. Takes way too long to sit there and try to jack the table up. So what I did was I took a 1/2 inch, 1/13 nut and drilled a 1/2 inch hole through it, and now it actually slides down over the top where this handle was, and I'm going to weld this onto the jack, and then I can use my impact gun to raise and lower the table. So that'll make it pretty nice. The most important part of actually putting this trailer jack onto the table is making sure that all the paint is cleaned off before I try to weld these. This here is a swing away type jack, so in that mechanism there is some slop and play in there too. So I'm gonna just solid mount it, I'm gonna clean the paint off, and then just weld the jack right to that bracket so that it doesn't move anymore. That'll really make that solid. So like I said, I already have one mocked up and C-clamped onto the table now. I'm going to pull one right out of the box and show you what I did to make it table ready. It's pretty much all there is. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is take this and pull the handle off. It's a 10mm wrench, 10mm socket. It'll pull this right off. So what I've already done is I've taken this 1/13 nut and drilled a 1/2 inch hole through it, and what that'll do, that'll sit right on top here, and now I can weld that, and then I can put my impact gun on there to raise and lower the jack instead of using the handle. The way this comes apart, it's just kind of 2 pieces. It's got a washer and then thrust bearing on it here. On the other one, there's a nut inside here that kind of swivels. I ended up welding this on the one that I have mocked up now. It didn't really do too much. I mean, it definitely strengthened it up, but I don't think it's necessary. What I was talking about now is taking this outer housing, and I'm gonna drill 2 holes in it, one here and one here, and I'm gonna actually weld a nut to this, and then I'll run a bolt in each direction whenever it's actually in the final spot, and that'll actually lock this tube here into this tube, so this will all be one solid piece. I'm gonna get these holes drilled, and then gonna get the paint cleaned off, and then I'm going to weld 2 nuts onto the tube. I don't have a ton of tools up here, so every time I need something I gotta go out and buy it. I ended up getting a set of punches here, so that way I can center punch the hole so it's not moving around. So I'm gonna use a center punch, punch a hole here, and punch a hole here. Some of you might think it's overkill to put 4 trailer jacks on your table. It might be, but this gives me the ability to make it rock solid no matter where it is in the garage, whether the concrete is level or not, and it gives me the ability to be able to level the table to make it perfect. So if I'm trying to build something on this, I can actually level the table first and then make sure whatever I'm building is actually level and true as well. Still need to get a vise. That'll be coming up in one of the future episodes of the work table build. I'm gonna use some step drill bits to be able to enlarge this hole out. I always start with a small pilot bit to get the hole started at low speed on the drill so you don't burn out the bit, and then switch over to my step bits. Ideally, you'd want to use a little bit of oil on here. I forgot to get some when I was out. We are going to be using a 1/2 inch bolt. I guess I probably could have went with a little bit smaller of a bolt. So like I said, one bolt will be right here. Another bolt will be right here. What that'll do is that'll take up the slop in each direction. If I were to just put one here, it could still pivot the other way. Okay, so for this, you're gonna wanna keep the heat low. We'll try it at 16 gauge. Just because you definitely don't wanna melt through the nut or the tube. I did put a nut on the inside just to hold this outside nut so I could weld it. I'm gonna weld that up, and then I still need to drill the hole on the other side and clean the paint off and do the same exact thing. And then I have to do that to all 4 of the jacks. So there you can see what it looks like welded onto the outside tube. Came out pretty good. If the nuts weren't coated and they were just bare steel, the weld would definitely look a lot cleaner, but it'll work for what I'm doing here. So you can see if you just take a bolt, winds right down in. So I keep one bolt over here that'll be the bolt that I use every time I weld for all the holes. That way, in case there's spatter or anything on it, I'm not messing up and junking all my bolts. Okay, so just for a little quick update, I think I'm only gonna put one of these lock nuts on here. There's actually a groove in the back here. So whenever you tighten up on this, it pushes into the groove and locks it in, so it can't move back and forth. So this goes down on top, and then you can see how much play is in there. You can see how much it's wiggling. Now, as soon as I tighten this down, literally 0 movement. So that's what I was looking for. So I'm gonna do that to the other 3 jacks, and then I'm gonna clean the paint up on the pivot mount here, weld those solid, and then I'm going to weld these to the table. But before I do that, one other thing that I'm gonna do up here, I'm gonna put the washer back on. So this here is a 1/2-13 nut that I drilled out with a drill bit to 1/2 inch, and it fits right over the top there. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna weld right around here, and then I'll be able to put a 3/4 inch socket on here on my impact gun or drill and be able to move the jack up and down without having to sit there and crank that silly handle. So I'll be able to have these jacks that run off a battery powered drill or impact gun. It'll be way quicker than the factory installed handle. It's gonna be tricky welding that nut on there because I haven't set up my TIG welder yet. It's still sitting in the box over here behind me. But once you weld this nut on the top of this shaft here, there's no way besides cutting this off that you're gonna be able to get this back apart again. So definitely if you're doing this, make sure that you have everything else done that you wanted to do before you weld the nut to the top of this. I'm gonna get to work and finish up the other 3 jacks. Just in case you guys were wondering, these are genuine Hallmaster trailer jacks. You know what, actually I think I just might, if I can get this ring clip off, I won't even put this bracket on there. I'll give that a try real quick. So that came off, wasn't on there very well. That wasn't too bad to get that clip off. So now I could pull this pin here. And now I could weld this straight to the table. And I have an extra pin, 4 pins for a project later on. Okay, so I got the nut welded onto the top. Still a little warm, but I'm gonna show you how this is gonna work. So that'll jack the table up, and just, well, once it's up, then you can come down here, tighten that up. Now there's absolutely no play. Loosen this back up. You got your play in there. Then drop the table back down onto the caster wheels. You're done. So raise it up, lock it, unlock it, lower it back down, and you're back on the casters. Rock solid. Okay, so now that I got all the bodies welded with the jam nut on there, I'm going to weld the nut onto the top of the screw here. That way I can put my impact gun on it. So let's get to it. Okay, so I just got the first stabilizer jack welded onto the table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I set these up. So with making sure that the lock screw is loose, I know that these tops of the brackets have to be 20.5 inches off the ground. So I'll just raise this up to 20.5 inches and then clamp it flat to the table leg. So here you can see is the first jack that I did put on. Everything worked out pretty nice. So I'm gonna get to welding these on and get it finished up. Okay, I'm gonna try to see, this is my first ever attempt at trying to get a weld shot. So we'll see if this actually works. Took a look at the footage. I think I might need to turn the white balance down on the camera. I'm not going to try anymore today. I want to get this finished. Okay, so the stabilizers are all welded up. I actually have them down, and this thing is absolutely rock solid. I mean, it's not going anywhere. Which is exactly what I wanted. So it's definitely nice to have something that is so mobile, so easy to move, but in less than probably 30 seconds, I can have the whole entire table raised up anywhere from nothing up to probably 4 inches. You can see how easy it is in that last clip, how you can raise and lower the jacks to level the table, lock it, and then unlock it and be able to move it right away. So that was definitely, you can see how wobbly the table is now. It's actually rolling without even touching it. So that's what the issue was. It was just way too easy to roll. That's why it needed the stabilizers. So make sure you stay tuned for the third part of the ultimate work table build. I'm going to be putting some power outlets on here and some different holders for tools. Well, it's getting late now, so that's going to pretty much wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thanks.